Now it's stripping time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning, recording from my home office in Gilbert. Before we get to today's show, a little unfinished business. In the most recent episode, Mr. Dave Ekiss was in studio, and we kind of previewed the Integra Type S. It is now out as of April 11th. This, of course, isn't dropping until a week later, but Dave, we have to talk about it. Welcome back. What are your thoughts based on what you've seen all over the internet today?
Thanks for having me, Jay. Definitely wanted a little bit more interior photos of it, but I will say the exterior spec, it was surprising from a few different angles. The stuck-on fenders were definitely very apparent, but I tell you, the best look it has is from that front three-quarters look.
I'm looking at that right now.
The wide, massive air ducts and the stance that it has, it's pretty dang cool. And the vented hood, I think, is a good add. I feel they could have gone a little more aggressive with the rear wing or a duckbill or something a little bit, but they kept it conservative. So overall, I can't lie, it's handsome. I'd like to see a little bit more of the interior just to see how much they tried to differentiate it from the Type R. But
I agree. The fender flares, I think they look great, even though I agree with you, they should be like fully molded in. It looks like they're kind of half molded in, which is kind of weird. I was looking at it.
It is weird.
Did you notice that with that weird, the bumper in the back?
Yeah, the seam looks like pretty one piece, but not one piece. I don't know. It was very strange because it didn't have a defined, cross section where you could remove it. So interesting.
I think it looks sweet. I'm not in the market for it. And I agree with you. The interior photos leaves a little bit to be desired. In one review that I was watching, the guy had said that there's the shifter, like everything is, almost to your point, everything is Civic. Like everything is Civic plus 5 horsepower due to tuning. It's got basically the Civic. Well, they said it's got the same Type S. I'm sorry, the same Integra interior. Civic this, Civic that, Civic engine. And it's probably going to perform better, but it would be cool if it was a little maybe Civic plus because the Civic Type R is already plus. But I'm pretty excited about the feedback on it, the public reception, because people hated the Integra so much at first. And so I think
the Hyundai Genesis and the Civic body, I got that whole vibe. I will say they did take a nod. From what I understand, the shift knob is a nod back to the old Integra Type R shift knob.
Looks just like it.
So it has that same profile, which I think is kind of a cool nod. But why nod back to a Type R when you kind of undermined it with the Type S type scenario? Don't know. And then I didn't have the specs of the Type R and the Type S together, wondering if one was wider than the other or not, or if the wheel track was wider, that would give it maybe an upper advantage. Or not.
Yeah, at some point we're going to see a side-by-side in the Throttle House. I think it's the page. Throttle House, I watch their videos. I'm positive they're going to have a Type S versus FL5 Type R showdown. I want to read a comment that I don't know if you've seen. I don't remember if you're on Facebook or not, but, I posted it, and a lot of the responses have been pretty good. There's a few of them. Compared to the CTR, it's ugly AF. I don't know what that means. But, I know what AF means, but, most of the people have had a really positive response to it. One guy, though, his name's Kyle. And I'm surprised he has
It's always a Kyle,
right? So this guy, let me tell you about this. He goes, Jay, is it possible that you're a hopeless fanboy and you just like everything that they make? Not even fender flares make this car visually hot, because I said it's visually hot. What's with that horrible J line down the side of the car? Those wheels are horrible, and the grill looks like a cheese grater. This car is a bag of yuck. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh,
dude,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. I would argue that 90% of the comments all throughout social media and just period online anywhere is positive, which I think is great for the car, considering what happened when they first unveiled the Integra. This guy he's that guy we all know in our group. He's the guy who never has anything constructive to say. I remember getting into it with him when the NSX first came out in 2017. He's a fellow NSXer or previous NSX, but he's the guy who can't say Kind of like you in the last episode where you're just like, you can explain what you like. It's like, oh, I just, nothing's going to replace that visceral feel of shifting from second or third with that butter smooth shifter and that exhaust note. I'm sorry, the new NSX can't do it. No, he's the type of guy that says, you're a pussy if you like that car. That car's for pansies.
Just taking it classic one-upper, to the nth degree.
Yeah, all Fords are shit. I'm a Chevy man. Well, that Ford is pretty cool right there. No, that's shit. It's like, all right, man. Good talk.
I guess. So, I mean, overall, it's going to be in the numbers and it's going to be in the driver's feel. And those lucky enough to be able to do that are the only ones with the authority to say whether it's good or it's shit. Yeah, you can couch command all you want, but at the end of the day, like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Side profile, okay. Rear, I think they could have tried to switch up the triple exhaust to a dual to maybe just give it a little bit of extra flair, but it just seems like a carbon copy, which I feel is not the right way to go.
Yeah, and I think you were kind of concerned about that. You know what? I'm looking at the front quarter, and it's reminding me of the RS4 Audi of like 2007, 2008. Just it's because that's the last car I could think of before the Type R Civic that has those tack on bubble fenders.
Yeah, but what that car had was like low. It had that wide mouth up front and those little bulked arches to give a little haunch, which gives it a really cool stance.
And it had a V8, I think.
Well, yeah. And we're not getting that. But for the wheels, they even make a bronze option, a 19 by 9.5. I mean, that's a pretty fat stack for a freaking Integra right out the gate, man.
Yeah, I think it looks great. But, we'll keep an eye on it and talk to Acura Tempe, and they said they'll be getting a few in. I don't think it's going to be a limited thing. And so I told Todd up there to give me a ring when one comes in. I'd love to come and check it out.
I looked a little bit today for a current Type R that's out there on the market right now, and MSRP is 45. They're wanting 64,000, so they're wanting 20,000 over sticker for a brand new championship white Type R. So pricing hasn't been announced, but I don't think they can go much more than what the Civic is. Maybe 47. I don't know. So it might be interesting.
Yeah, everyone's saying 60, and I think they're saying 60 including the bump. And, I've been talking to everyone online today. I'm like, not everybody gives a bump. I mean, you could find somebody who's not. So
it is what it is. So interesting to see how it performs.
Yep. Oh, well, enjoy the rest of your night. I got to get on with the show. Thanks.
Yep. Much appreciated. Have a good one. Thanks.
You too. Later. So there you guys have it. Coming up on today's show, a few weeks ago, I sat down with Liz and Richard Graves when they were in town picking up their NSX from Science of Speed. They like to do this multiple days road trips, which I envy having that kind of time. That conversation is coming up after this word, of course, from 4Wheel Online. Jhae Pfenning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. Their truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Richard and Liz Graves made the trek to Arizona, sitting here in studio. Been on the podcast a few times in the past, more so Richard with his technical stuff. Lap of the World, if it sounds familiar. And they had an NSX go down there in NSXPO. So first off, welcome.
Well, thank you. We're actually here this time.
That's right.
So much easier with no virtual lag.
That's right. Yeah, no virtual lag. Editing is probably going to be a lot easier. I've kind of just said, fuck it, when I do the editing now with people in studio. It's a whole lot easier.
Yeah, we did the same thing. Like we were trying to always adjust, and at some point we're like, some people are going to be louder, some people aren't. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. So tell us, like, I didn't really talk about what happened to you guys when you're out here last time. Want to give us a quick rundown?
This is definitely a more fun trip. Well, it actually was. I wouldn't call this a more fun trip, but with respect to one car in particular, it's better circumstances.
Well, we drove out with 2 NSXs and drove back with 1.
Yeah, so we came out for NSXPO last October.
Good year to have 2.
And we drove. So Liz had just gotten you just got your NSX
I got it in April.
And so then we had kind of gotten it ready and got mine ready, and then we drove both of them out for the event. But the first day, which is the first day of the whole event, the first day of the track event, I came off the session. Like, the car had been running good all day, but I had a couple of sessions cut short because I think I cracked a brake rotor in the second session and had to come off and spent the rest of that session changing it. And then the photo shoot, I think, ate into part of our third session. I normally never run the last session of a track
That's what I was about to say. Like, never. He never goes on the last session. It's just like if you go skiing, you never go on the last, because that's when
shit happens.
You break your leg or whatever. Like
the car's most fatigued, your brain's most fatigued. Nothing good ever.
So I
comes
remember he
of
was
it.
like, "I'm going to go out on this session." I was like,
But
why?
I'd been out so few, like so little over the course of the day that I was still pretty fresh. I was like, the car hasn't done as much as it usually would. Anyway, long story short, we come off the track from that last session, and without like going through the entire diagnosis process, ended up being rod knock that we had picked up. So at some point we had scuffed a bearing, and so we ended up having the car flatbedded up to SOS.
I was going to say, at least you have to say that it was a knocking that you were pretty sure was rod knock, but because we were here, Chris was there. Chris Wilson from SOS was there, right? Dave.
John Vassos. Dave Levy.
Yeah. So you had like
the dream team.
Ravi Tomerlin, all of we have like probably 50% of the legitimate NSX experts in the paddock.
So we've got like pictures and videos of like John Vassos listening to it and like doing stuff. And Dave,
okay, no, that's definitely rod knock, because I don't know what else I was thinking it might have been at first, but after we started kind of listening to it, well,
there was a hope that it was like something had just come loose.
Screwdriver,
right, 100%. You don't. You in your back of your mind, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
But please be something other than this.
Well, especially knowing when you're halfway across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember what it was. It's because when I'd installed some headers, and I'd had some. It had been a little fiddly to get them to fit without interfering with one of the rear diagonal braces or something like that. And when it would do that, it would resonate a little bit and sounded real scary. But no, it was not that. And that was the end of the story then, as we had to abandon the car here. Not abandon it. We left it with Science of Speed. So it was in very good hands. And then
but it did get an award.
Drove it was the saddest NSX in the car show.
Yeah. And
then it was the only casualty of the track event this year.
Which is good. A couple people went off track, but nobody actually had any damage.
If that meant I took that karma for the team and everybody else had a good time, then,
Well,
sure.
And I think that's what we were saying, like, of all the places for that time. I mean, because with 315,000 miles on it, basically. So of all the places for that to happen, like, it's a hell of a coincidence for it to be, like, or convenience.
Yeah.
Really, for it to be, like, where SOS is at,
I was going to say, and for all those of us NSX owners, if you're ever going to break down somewhere, it better be at NSXPO.
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
It's like people bring, spare stuff with them. If it's something small, somebody's going to have that extra main relay in the glove compartment, and the community is awesome. So they'll,
Oh, I mean, well, we can have story because we had the CV boot.
Oh yeah,
issue on the way up to Portland.
That was 2021.
And by the time, literally, people were like stopping and getting fluid for us and like meeting us at rest stops. And
by the time we got to the hotel parking lot, other people had brought us a new boot kit, an axle that we ended up just swapping the axle out instead of trying to fix it on the axle.
Well, I was going to say, I have to at least give prop to Dave Levy. He brought like a lift. He brought like all kinds of stuff for us.
And then also, Stephen Glover brought us the appropriate volume of transmission fluid to make sure we fill back up. And
I know. Well, my favorite was when it was actually, so it was in the motel parking lot, in the like tiny, literally like 5-room motel parking lot of this little tiny town. And Richard's like under the car trying to do all this. And Shad and Bruce McPherson are like sitting over there drinking beer, like just watching him. I was like, this has been, and Shad would occasionally be like, oh no, you need to do this.
Yeah, don't. It's like
room 2 has a dead person in it, because all those 5-room hotels have at least one dead person in them.
Oh yeah, probably sad.
But no, my point is I think that it's just a example of a community though. Yeah. And I think even you were talking about spare parts. It's like since what's his name took the
Oh yeah, because then since my car was down and not going anywhere at NSXPO in
Arizona.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this past
that was
one.
this one, yeah.
Then we ended up loaning the alternator out of my car to
Charles.
Charles, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Charles.
We had a few alternator battery issues. It was just super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and at the track, there were a couple, like, there were definitely some weird issues. Like, somebody couldn't get their hood open.
I don't know.
And it was like, literally, people were like laying and trying to, like things got stuck.
The cable
and,
broke or something.
Yeah, it's just like, there were a bunch of like weird things that happened.
Small things.
So the funny thing, it's not really funny to you guys, but just the irony, right? The one time you come with two cars, you're still leaving with one?
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise,
Well, it was only because we packed a little more than we usually would. Because we were like, oh, we have so much room. We have so much room for activities. And we even brought Frisbee golf discs with us because we were like, we have room.
Like we're stopping along the way a couple different places. And we're like, oh, we'll have some time for,
So we had like all the track stuff in his car.
But so I'm now, in addition
trying to pack it all back in my car. So there was like stuff in the like engine hat, on the.
Oh, yeah. Our car was packed to the gills on the way home.
But luckily, Shad mailed us back our old axle and like, we left like the jack and stuff with SOS because we were just like,
well, no, the axle thing that was a previous year.
No, there was some this year.
No, Shad.
Oh no, you're right. He did have it.
That was from the CV boot thing. But,
no, you're right.
But because then he took that down and mailed it back to us because he wanted to actually look at it because it had his. Sorry, like we're topic jumping between two stories here, but he had our.
Now you understand our videos and how they're made.
I had his kind of extra beefy track use spider bearings in the CV joints from way back when mine eventually had gone bad at 300 or probably at that point 240,000 miles or something. I'd replace those, and he was like, "I'd be curious to look at them and see how they've held up." Because that's the most mileage anybody's put on one of them. So I was like, yeah, sure.
Again, guys, listening, keep in mind this is the couple. There's 315,000 on this thing when this happened last year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
and I rolled over 150 on mine on the way to Expo.
Relics.
So.
Yeah.
So what do you guys? Are you gonna take two cars this year to Atlanta, or are you gonna? I don't know if the Lord wants that.
I was gonna say, to Atlanta is it's trek for us.
I know.
It's gonna be about 2.5 hours. So even if there's an issue, we could like drive home and get the jacket or whatever.
Right.
Those that follow our channel, it's going to be a short vlog, but but it'll be an easy drive for us. But
because you guys had how many parts? You had quite a few parts coming out here and going home of your vlog.
Yeah, so we took 5 days on the way out, and then I think we
do one every day,
and then we did every other day on the way home. So we actually did.
We usually don't do the way home. But since we were taking so much time going back, we stopped at a bunch of like roadside ridiculous
Route 66
things.
Attractions and stuff like that. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny you say that though. With like that was the one year we brought two cars. It's like I would take the opposite view of that. Say that was overall the most for what was really a big inconvenience. It was about the most convenient big inconvenience that I can imagine.
If it's going to happen,
like have the car break down, like have this happen at NSXPO within a short tow of probably the premier engine builder for the NSX in the country, and then have another NSX with us to then continue to enjoy the social event and get us home without having to alter plans in a big fashion. I mean, the only thing I was short one jack because I just left the jack in the trunk of the car that's been here.
Well, but we didn't need it at least.
To avoid having to like.
I mean, that's a goal. You don't need it on the way home.
Hold it in our lap or something, but.
I don't remember. There was one Expo that I remember. That's one thing that both of us were like, I'm not doing to the passengers. I don't remember who it was. Oh, I see his face. I can't remember, but his wife sat in the passenger seat and literally was holding like boxes.
The whole.
I was like, I'm not.
So when we drove back from San Francisco, I had to work, so I took my car up there a few weeks early and left it at James Ibarro's place. Mm-hmm. And I flew in from work. My wife also flew in because she was on, she had to fly away from work. So she flew in and we drove back. So our trunk was, you guys know, but then she had one backpack between her legs and the other one between her arms the whole way.
Yeah. I don't
see. That's the advantage of being short is we put the backpack behind the driver's seat because we have the same settings for the seat, so we have backpack room behind the seat.
I'm a little taller than she is, but just the way the proportions work out, we end up with the seat the same distance from the wheel. So we have enough room for backpack and water bottles and stuff.
Not our backpacks, man.
Yeah,
got 2 laptops stuffed with shit. Like she was.
I used to travel a ton for work, and so I have the trim profile backpack that will fit multiple laptops and a bunch of stuff, and that. Usually it's the camera equipment that goes behind the seat.
Yeah, it ends up. Yeah, it took a little bit of science to kind of get our to the point where we are now, where we can if we're just taking one NSX, we can I think we got packing down to science. We've only had to do stop and do laundry on the road once, and that was 2021 when we ended up on the road for 16 days or something.
So speaking of, you guys, you drive everywhere. Do you ever fly? I mean, you were in San Diego for a work thing, and then you flew here to pick up your car, but do you always drive everywhere?
As much as we can.
For any of the car events and any...
I would much rather drive for anything.
Yeah, and any going to, from Tennessee, it's not that bad, but going to from Tennessee to Florida for, random beach trips and stuff like that, that's always just a drive because we can get there in a day.
Well, I think driving too is you control it.
Yeah.
You do.
So I would much rather drive than I would fly. So, so I moved from Florida to Alaska and drove that.
Shit.
I got
tip to tip.
I have nothing to top what she's about to say, so go ahead.
Yeah, I only slept in the car once. But no, I drove from Florida to Alaska. And then, so it's I think that's the biggest thing is doing these road trips, I think are, to me, it's that's the fun of it.
I hate it.
I love it.
I haven't decided if you're old school or I've just detached from that world because there's still, I would hope there's still a lot of people doing a lot of driving. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just, I think at this point I would rather drive somewhere and fly back or fly somewhere and maybe drive back, but I can't do both
directions.
Well, I think it's interesting, but I think part of it is too, neither one of us commute for work. We both work from home. So it's not when I used to drive 45 minutes to and from work, the idea of them being hey, let's drive 8 hours and go out and visit Jay. I'd be no.
Hard pass. But you won't drive an hour and a half to visit me in Globe.
No, I know. I would not.
No.
Listen, I would have found a way to very gracefully tell you no.
That probably is part of it is that we don't have,
so we enjoy driving.
90+% of any driving we do is now optional or recreational.
Right.
Well, but I also think and we've talked about this before. I think part of it is for us, even Expo, obviously Expo is the main event, but it's gotten to the point where just the actual travel there and the drive is part of the event for us.
It is.
And it's,
for a lot of people
we look
too.
forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oli and all those guys.
Yeah. We look forward to it and we're, even, we'll sit and most of the time we just talk and you talk about all kinds of random bullshit and then, random topics and go weird places. And it's I don't know, it's so much more chill than yesterday flying and doing it we were more
trying to ignore everybody else that's on the plane.
Well, you have each other though.
Yes.
Because one of my biggest complaints about driving to NSXPO is everybody wants to go and you go and everyone's where are you at? Should we stop here? But as soon as the event's over, hey, I got to leave at 4:00 in the morning. Good luck, guys. And then the way home, you're by yourself. Yeah. The way there, you're all together.
Podcasts. You know, hard parking. See? Podcasts.
Nice tie-in, hard parking. Yeah.
But no, I think, so on the way to, because usually we're in the same car, so we're just switching drivers back and forth and doing it that way. So we were a little bit leery of the idea of driving all the way out to Arizona and having 2 cars, but there was no way that I could buy mine and not drive it out to Expo.
100%, yep.
And so we were kind of torn on that, but then we were but part of it, the fun is us just talking and randomly things. So we picked up...
got cheap radios.
Yeah. Walkie-talkies. And then I bugged the shit out of him the whole drive because that's the biggest issue is sometimes when I'm driving, he doesn't talk to me.
It's we needed that in the car the whole time for her to just have a beeper.
So hold on. So
chirp, chirp, oh, what? No.
So when you're driving, what are you typically doing?
He sleeps.
Sleeps?
Yes.
We're unfortunately opposites in a lot of ways.
Well, it's what works for us. It's because we're opposite.
It works
for a lot of people.
It works most of the time, but that's one of those times where
I don't idle well by myself.
I'll get up in the morning and I'll be ready to go and get out the door, and then so I'll drive and she'll she'll be navigating and.
So what do you do?
I talk to him.
Yeah, or
I talk to him. I navigate. I get food. I get like drinks and stuff. Like but the
do
problem
crossword puzzles.
We're both awake in the morning. Is the problem. And then by the time he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, now you haven't been talking to me for 4 hours and I've just been sitting over here. And so now I'm going to fall asleep, and then we switch. And so then I listen to podcasts while he sleeps. So it's, he's gotten better.
In a way, it must be nice.
Well, I've gotten it down. I've got my power nap game a little bit more down. So it's like, just, drink something with caffeine, immediately go to sleep. Then I'll wake up and I'm awake. I'm not having to like de-grog after that. And so I'm a little more present.
No, he is not.
What haven't you guys seen driving across? Is there anywhere you want to go?
So I've been to all 50 states.
I haven't quite. I think
I'm like a dozen states short, if that.
Yeah, I say
the Northeast is lacking for me.
Myself and the black NSX, which we've traveled with so much.
And you haven't used the one thing. I bought him the stupid things they have for campers.
The camper top thing?
Yeah, no, the stickers, the maps that you can put the sticker on once you've gone through that state.
Oh, yeah.
I bought one for the black NSX.
The opposite of scratch-off map, basically. Yeah. But it's the...
I'm not put on it. You can put it inside the trunk if you want, but I meant in the garage. Really. That would be weird. Put on the car.
But I think, we're missing a couple of states up in the north, very, very northeast. Like, I haven't been to Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. And then I don't think either of the Dakotas...
No, we went through the Dakotas.
No,
one of them.
South Dakota?
South Dakota.
Okay, so we went through a corner of South Dakota. We haven't been in North Dakota and Montana. I think that's it.
You haven't been to North Dakota or Montana?
Yeah, as far as the lower 48.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't been to either Hawaii or Alaska. She's been to both of those. So it would be neat to do I was watching which I know you've met them before because you were on their channel a while ago, Gears and Gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed watching I've enjoyed watching their Florida to Alaska plural treks, I guess now. I was like,
listen, I got it down. I know where to go.
That would be a neat thing to try because there are also a handful of racetracks and the kind of things that people might want to watch a video for that would be a title that's clickbait without being clickbait of like I drove the northernmost racetrack in North America is kind of on the way.
Yeah.
It's not, but it is.
We can make it on the way.
It's only probably a 3 or 4 hour detour, which in the context of that trip isn't that much.
In the context of a week of driving 3 or 4 hours doesn't really add much. But no, I think it's doing those drives. I think would be interesting for sure. I got caught in one traffic jam on my drive up there, and that was buffaloes, like the animals.
Oh.
I was in the middle of Canada on the Alcan Highway and literally just stopped for like 15 minutes with a herd walking. And all I remember is the one like looking at me through the side, I'm like, I'm not moving. Don't worry. Like not going anywhere. I'll just shut my
Jurassic
car off.
Park eye through the window thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he, I sat there. That was the only traffic jam. I didn't see one cop literally the entirety of the highway.
That means they were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't stop me or I was good. I'm just saying.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's a neat drive. I highly recommend it. But but we've talked a lot about shipping the car too.
That's kind of the ultimate goal, because we our channel name, we operate under the whole Lap of the World brand.
Mm-hmm.
But
and right now it's just Lap of the Garage.
In reality, recently it's been Lap of our Garage, but in most of the stuff we've done while the channel has been really active it's been all US based. So I want to at least get up to Canada soon, and then we've also been kind of plotting and scheming a couple of potential international destinations.
Well, we've been to the Nürburgring a few times, but we've never taken the car there.
Yeah, we've never taken the car there.
We've driven rental cars.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, to me that counts.
Yeah,
totally.
Been waiting months for your car to come across the ocean.
His dad has a really nice letter framed from the rental car company telling him he's banned from
Nice.
using their car because they saw that he used it on the Nürburgring.
Hertz or whoever saying
Yeah.
this, like, you are now banned from using our rental car services in Europe. And he's like, I don't know whether I should be ashamed of this or if I should frame it. So,
Frame it.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, like we've talked about shipping it over to, for a while we were excited about the idea of Fiesta, but that's probably not.
Right.
Hopefully,
but,
we're hoping that maybe
Well,
it's not the same, maybe not Honda's official,
they're
maybe
still
Honda's not
planning on
officially
doing it,
involved,
yeah.
but there will be some manifestation of that carries forward.
There
that
has to be.
Yeah, well, the NSX Club of Japan is
Yeah.
planning on still doing something. They're just not sure what it's going to look like.
Hirofimi.
yeah.
Hirofimo.
Yeah, we talked to him
Hirofima.
a bunch about it.
Yeah, Hirofimi.
But anyway, we also talked about just shipping the car over to like the UK, and then once you get over to continental Europe, like even so, when I lived in Norway, there's a ferry. We could take the car up to Norway from Denmark, and now all of a sudden, you're in Scandinavia, and we talked to the guys up at the Arctic Circle Raceway.
Yeah.
And they're like, come on out.
Yeah. Which that actually looks like a super fun time. I think there was I want to say it was Ford did a promo for the most recent Ford GT supercar where they went up there and set the like production car lap record and drove some of the coastal roads. And it was that I was like, yeah, that please.
I was gonna say, if you really think about it though, like to go back to your actual question of where we would want to go, I think where we're next going, I think that's now that we have
Like
a car
from here
back.
home?
Yeah, I think we're gonna drive home, probably, unless we get distracted. I don't know, but before like the next big
Non-zero
trip,
possibility, but
because usually the next big trip would be like an expo because we're expecting
Right.
like a full cross country thing. But now this year it's so
2
close
hours
to home.
away.
So I think what we've talked about is that like
Yeah,
Canadian,
we
like
might
what if we
have
just
a-
make a loop up through and like we're not going to an event. We're just
we
going,
might have a big summer trip in us because then we'd have our son would be home to like watch the dogs and stuff like that, so we're not having to worry about farming that out too much, and so we could
I don't
sneak
think your
off
parents would be too sad.
we could sneak off for a few weeks to get that done. But that's probably what's big next. And we'll see how that develops as kind of the year pans out. Because the other thing I wanted to kind of do this year is the channel spoilers, not really, but the black car is going to get a little bit.
Wait. Breaking news.
Yeah.
From Lap of the World. Mr. Richard Graves.
The black car, we're not done with the black car yet. It's going to get a little bit more of. It's going to get a little bit of a glow up, I think, and then I want to get the rest of the cars mechanically stable. So I'm, if 2023 is already kind of a half, well,
I was gonna say we
what are
only
we
have,
at this point? Like
it's really just
one
car.
third, quarter. We've had a sacrificial quarter already this year. Then we may as well take a little bit of extra time to kind of tee ourselves up to go and have a much longer stretch of uninterrupted track and travel shenanigans. So
Well, we had the Trio in 2022, so the GTI messed up.
yeah,
Then
things come in threes.
The Gallardo, then
we had
the Black NSX. So
we
it's
had-
like
yeah,
that's
they had
it. So nothing else can happen, right?
What happened to the Gallardo?
So yeah, that's what we had to have.
Gallardo?
Is our
I never say it right.
our GTI's high pressure fuel
We won't
pump
make fun of you.
exploded
You can
on
say
us.
however you want.
And then the NSX went down at Expo, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna have one last hurrah. We're gonna do proof of concept of having the Gallardo as kind of our backup car, something interesting that people would want to watch on a track. I know the answer is always Miata, but I can't.
I feel like that's where we made the same thing.
Miata's more financially forgiving.
But Jay was saying like that us bringing out the other car, like maybe that was what caused the issue. Like this time we did one thing different for this track event that we never do, which is we drove a chase car.
Because
we never do. We never bring a chase car.
There's less room in that, but it was also the first. It's the maiden voyage, so we're like we don't want to,
First time we'd ever been on a track. We're like, just in case. Murphy's Law.
Just in case. And so I had done all the stuff to the car like in the preceding months and kind of finished up some jobs that had been outstanding. It did the last oil change, drove it around town a little bit, drove it, put some good miles on it. And then we take it down to Birmingham area to Little Talladega Grand Prix Raceway. It's kind of across the valley from the big NASCAR track. And do a single day event. short track, you're not getting super high speed there.
It's a
just
small
to,
event. There's
just doing a
less
little
people,
shakedown. And so we went down there and made it down to the track. And
the morning, yeah, like
pulled
literally.
into the track, parked it, and went to the driver's meeting, came back out, was checking the oil, and the oil was suspiciously low. And there's a little bit of a ritual you have to do on those cars to check the oil. I don't know how the NC1s are actually. It could be something similar, but you
I have no idea.
You have to start it. Well,
I don't want to know.
They probably have a fancier sensor that just tells you your oil is low. But these you've got to start the car, idle it at 2,000 RPM for 90 seconds.
I think it's kind of the same actually.
And then turn it off and then run and pull, pull the dipstick. Because you got to have the system fully cycled to where the oil level in the tank is correct. But you go pull the dipstick and it's suspiciously low. I was like, I know this was at the top of the range when we started, and is now almost at the bottom of that. And I was like, okay, hang on. And I started kind of looking around and look underneath. And fortunately, by that point in the day, it was a little bit overcast and threatening rain, but it hadn't started yet at that point. So I was kind of looking underneath, and there was just stuff dripping from the undercarriage, and
a little puddle.
We pushed it forward, and there was a big little puddle.
Well, I'm saying from the view, we were looking at her, it looked like there was a little puddle, and we were like, okay, there's a little bit of an oil leak. And it was
so I jack it up and start looking at her, and it's just the undercarriage is soaked. So whatever from the hotel to the track, which is maybe 30 minutes or something, it was that,
yeah.
We suspect that it probably, whatever seal had popped before that.
Well, we suspect what we found is, so we called our son who was at home, and he went out the garage, and ADHD said, no, I don't see any oil on the floor. And we were like, oh, okay. That's because we thought maybe it leaked. And then it was an hour later, he called back and he was like, no, actually, I actually went back out and looked and turned the light on this time. And yeah, there's oil.
Turn the light on this time.
Dude.
But, hell yeah. There's stuff all over the place.
Yeah. Huh? But it was good and bad. Cause I felt bad. Cause I was like, I could have caught this before we even came down here. But when I parked it.
But it wasn't enough. It wasn't a massive amount.
When I pulled it out and drove it to play disc golf with my brother the day before we went, and then and it had left no spots. So I pulled it back in. So somewhere on that trip is when it started, clearly it started leaking. But it's I guess it's a common problem, but the problem is the pipe where this happens is in the V of the engine underneath the intake, the whole intake manifold. And it's towards the front of the engine. So it's near, there's no way no sort of ninja surgery is going to get you in there without taking a whole bunch of stuff off the car. So fortunately we met a really nice guy that let us borrow his shop, because by the time it started chucking down rain.
Oh, it was pouring.
Before the event started. And of course we weren't going to go out on track because don't want to blow the car up, and also don't want to send anybody else into the weeds by oiling the whole place down. And we were able to kind of take the car, maybe dumped the extra quart of oil I bought in it, drove it 30 minutes down the road to this guy's shop to kind of evaluate more, figured out where the leak was. And then also that was about the same time that our son called us back and said, oh yeah, it left a spot I do see a spot in the garage. And we're like, okay, hang on. So if it was leaking as we started down, then there's a limit to how the rate at which it was losing oil can only be so much.
Because before that we were talking about leaving it there and then we were 4 hours from home. So we were like, let's drive home and then pick up the trailer and drive back and get it. Because, we're talking about, we were at the track for the event. So it's early morning. And by this point, it's 10 a.m. that we figure, so it's still, we're we could still get all the way home and back with a trailer.
Yeah, you can borrow a trailer.
But it seemed ridiculous.
But we kind of did the math on that, and we ended up just going by a gas station on the way out of town and getting.
We went to a legitimate parts store. We didn't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a parts chain somewhere, and got several quarts of oil.
You didn't go to Circle K,
and then we're just checking.
Obviously,
Then just checking, and then we were just checking it every, stopping every 30 minutes to an hour, just to check the level and top it up. But I think we were using it was losing a whole quart an hour basically driving.
Well, I was going to say what we found. It was interesting because on the way to this guy's shop to look, while we were driving, so I was following him, and then we kind of ran into a little bit of traffic just going over an intersection or over a bridge to an intersection, and he had to stop a little more
had somebody
abruptly.
pull close in front of me, so I had to stop a little more quickly than I would have liked. And
but it wasn't, we didn't like put two and two together at first, but it was like there's smoke. And I was like, okay, the engine's smoking now. And so we got worried and pulled off and checked things and it was fine. And what we realized is that it was,
now that
once he did it twice, we realized it was the oil slosh. So we just thought it was just oil getting up on things.
It had leaked enough into the V of the engine where there were little, crevices and just the casting, indents and stuff that it was so we did this on our Twitch stream.
Yes.
twitch.tv/lap_of_the_world.
It's very easy to say.
Yeah.
But all the underscores
gotta get the underscores
makes it super easy to say. Well,
every word is separated by an underscore.
Yes, because
it's the lap of the world.
I didn't create it.
No, you did.
No, I didn't make the name up.
I was like, you 100%.
That was you. I created it because I had experience
with
Twitch. No, I meant the underscore part.
No, you did that.
No, that was not me.
Okay.
I would not.
Anyway, we'll discuss this later.
We'll talk about this later.
All three of us know I'm right. It's fine.
It's fine. You're right. You probably didn't. Anyway.
But we actually
on stream,
did all of that on stream.
We were
not that.
That's what we've been doing is fixing that car on the stream. And after we got the intake manifold off, I used like a turkey baster and to suck all the oil out
ASMR,
of the V.
Turkey baster noises.
It made the
ASMR is where it's at. They say the noises.
It was pretty much just fart.
Like the level of turkey baster like rubber bulb flatulence was unanticipated, but
it's okay. The viewer in chat were
the end didn't pop off. Like I have the kind where the end comes off. Like every time you try to do anything.
No, shockingly, it did not. But it made lots of noise.
This one's okay. It can. If you're too enthusiastic with it, it will, but it does all right. But I think we siphoned. What did we say? We siphoned at least probably.
Well, we had a jar.
Yeah,
Richard getting enthusiastic with the turkey baster.
Yeah, it was probably.
Oh, you don't understand the innuendos that happened during that because it's me unfiltered, so it was much more fun.
Well, no, because it's anyway. So we ended up going from like okay, well I'm done with the turkey baster, so now I need to I'm going to use some.
Well, he was trying to stop
some compressed air to get something else out. So we're going from suck to blow, and it's just all these jokes.
Yeah, and then it was all this stuff about people. Like he was trying to figure out how to soak up the rest of the oil once he, because you can only suck up so much. And then chat was like, the best thing to use for that is tampons. Go get some tampons. And I'm like, so he made like tampons out of toilet paper. It worked.
Yeah, it worked out. But the end of the story, though, is I think we siphoned probably 1.5 quart of oil.
Yeah.
It was just pooled. Just pooled in the V of the engine. And we're like, this explains the sloshing now. Because we were putting the brakes on, that was just running out the front of the V and then down onto, fortunately not the headers at that point, but it was, running onto the hot, the front of the block or whatever, and then smoking off from there a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, we limped the car home like idiots, and then we got to finally got around to working on it somewhat recently, because I kind of just at that point I was just like, I don't even know if I want to look at a car.
Because that was like early December, and people, and a friend of mine that follows
down 3.
A friend of mine was like, so what did we ever figure out what happened with the Lamborghini? And I was like, no, we haven't even looked at it. He's like, oh, so Richard was serious when he said he's not even going to look at it until next year? I was like, yes.
It is sitting in the garage outside thinking about what it's done.
No, we just recently started looking at it. But
so I think we figured it out. We're actually most of the way through. I've replaced the seals. Yeah. We're on the way to putting stuff back together. Was our last stream, and then we'll continue that once we're back in town, while also plotting and scheming what we're going to do with the NSX next. So,
well, we have to put in a ride for that one too.
Yeah.
Well, all that sounds good. This is Richard and Liz Graves. People want to follow your adventures, just like the shirt you're wearing, Lap of the World. Tell them how to reach you. LOTW. It's funny. It's there. And as you guys are doing the whole underscore finger pointing, I'm thinking in my head, that's like LOTW, and it's literally right on your shirt.
LOTW.TV will take you straight to the YouTube channel or youtube.com/lapoftheworld. Actually,
there's no underscores in that.
No underscores in that one. Lapoftheworld.com if you want to find a map of every road racing circuit in the world,
which
plus some test tracks and stuff.
It's not just a random thing.
And some of them, the ones we've been to, have links to our videos documenting our experiences at those tracks.
Any real tracks in the United States you haven't been to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, plenty. There are a shocking number of tracks. And it's in North America, I think 130 tracks, like road courses. That's not counting like your local dirt tracks or drag strips or anything like that. That's just...
You know what else is 130?
Your car.
That's
I'd
very
say,
good.
Yeah.
You've heard that one.
Somebody's got a... Yeah. No, but yeah. A bunch left in North America. We've done... We only have about 100 left, I think.
Yeah, I think we're at 30.
But
30 tracks, so.
I would have figured it's the other way around.
no, you'd think that, but
that was our plan.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, it's this whole stupid working thing
Yeah.
you gotta
that just
work
gets in the
and
way.
then
Well, and
go
we
in-
had the kid at home, but now he's in
it's like
college, so we don't have to worry about him
traveling,
anymore. So
And tracking the car costs money, and fixing the car costs money, and tracking the car means fixing the car,
Mhm.
and But yeah, no, the hope is with
But that's why
we'll have
that's why
to-
the thing is road trips. Wrench,
yeah, that
repeat.
was the road trip, racetrack,
Or,
wrench,
yeah.
and repeat is the cycle of our life. But it's a fun one. So we're gonna probably, our goal is to pick up the pace. I'm not sure this year, but the goal is to pick up the pace a little bit.
I think the ultimate goal was like one a month.
Kind of be a little bit
was-
more efficient and start trying to hit one a month, and maybe doing a few, getting it to the point where, I mean, especially now with fresh motor in the car, but, hit up. We did our first double header.
Up in New York.
Yeah, last year up in New York, we did 2 days in a row. One day at New York Safety Track, and the next day at Pine View Run, with I think the S2K Takeover crowd, and that was fun. And that was like, okay, we can do that. Like, would I try and do back to back 3-day events like a week of 1 weekend apart from another weekend? That might be asking a lot. I mean, you're probably looking at needing a set of tires somewhere in there almost. But doing like the little SECA track nights and stuff like that are 3 sessions, 4 sessions, and doing those like one day or with a day in between or something, and find stuff to do in between. Probably not out of the question.
As you work from the hotel.
Well,
What do you do in between?
the word takeover has triggered me, so we'll have to talk about that one next time.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
I want to thank Richard and Liz Graves for coming in the studio. We recorded that, I don't know, like a month ago maybe. Just got back from New Orleans. I did not rent a car. Yvette talked me into not renting a car, and I'm glad that we did not rent a car. Actually, we walked everywhere, and then we Ubered when we were short on time. Have some thoughts. Went out with some people, went to a club where they take their clothes off. One of the people in the group went to use the ATM, not us, I swear to God, and there was a $45 ATM fee. Not $4.50, $45. They know if you really want that money to put in them dancers, you're going to pay it. That is insane. You know what else is insane? 4 out of the last 6 times I've traveled, I've been randomly picked by the TSA. The random beep where they swab your stuff. They give you a pat down. I'm beginning to think it's these pants that I bought. I bought these hikers. I got tired of wearing the same joggers all the time, the Adidas joggers. I don't know how much longer those are going to be in style, but I wanted something a little more comfortable, but not quite jeans. So I bought these hiking pants for Hawaii. I bought a black pair and a gray pair, and they have zippers all over them, plastic zippers. But there must be something with them, because I'm telling you, literally the only time I didn't get flagged is when I was going to Austin and came back from Austin. To and from Hawaii, beep. To and from New Orleans, beep. So it's no longer randomly selected. I feel like I'm being targeted somehow. Again, rather safe than sorry. Did you know that strippers have to pay per night, at least in New Orleans? Like a hairdresser has to pay for their spot. The strippers have to pay to be there, like a flat fee. I guess people did know that, sort of. I used to date one way years ago. And I know that they would have to settle up with the place. But what happens is also, if it's a busy night, a busy time, if there's something special going on, like let's say like the Super Bowl is in Arizona, those dancers have to pay more to perform on those nights than their regular nights. That I didn't know. That's crazy. Just like hotel rates go up, car rental rates go up, strippers have to pay more for their space on those days. That's nuts. Finally, when was the last time you dropped food in your lap? Where does this come from? I'm talking about restaurant napkins. We put it on our lap and it falls on the floor usually. Mine always falls on the floor. But I asked my wife, I go, hey, when was the last time you dropped food on your lap? She goes, I don't know why. I go, because we do this at restaurants all the time. When we're at home and we get a paper towel, we don't put it on our lap. We put it right next to our plate. She goes, oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah. Kind of weird. It's just what we do. It's just one of those weird things in society. When was the last time you dropped food in your lap at a restaurant? It's probably been a while. Anyway, those are my random thoughts from New Orleans. I have more thoughts, I think. Talk about it next week. I want to thank Right Honda and Right Toyota, 4wheelonline.com, Sell Shop Wireless Services, and the Patreon business supporters. Kuya Automotive out of Warren Garden, Florida, Pell Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan, Bee House, Small Home Design, Ashburn, Virginia, Traverse City, Michigan. Westgate Exotic Cars and Rentals out of Glendale, Arizona, and Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. Special shout out to Mark Stolman, Catherine Crocs, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Gumina, and Drew Bunkley for being a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com. I kind of threw out some bonus audio. You can look for it online, and if you feel like you want to go ahead and make that financial commitment, then do it. There's like 56 other episodes in that Patreon that you don't get unless you're part of that. If you want to email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at Jhae Pfenning, and please join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group because I can't grow that you tell the world how good the show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together, and I will talk to you all next week.
Shut up!
A beater